Welcome. I'm here with my friend William Shakespeare. Hello. We'll see more of him a little later on. We are going to be talking about the basics of semiotics and the culture of consumption. So make sure that you have done the readings for this week and you'll understand a little bit better what I'm talking about. And if you're not sure what the readings are, you can look on the syllabus at the course schedule at the end. Okay, so semiotics, you may not have heard that word before. It's all about signs. So, hold on. We'll get to this in a moment. But here's a sign. And this is what we usually think of when we think about signs. A stop sign or no parking sign. And yes, these are signs, but we can also be talking about other things when we're talking about signs. But still just thinking about this sign, the letter P with the circle and the slash through it, we know that that means don't do something. So, all right. Whenever we're talking about signs, we can talk about surface level meaning and underlying meanings. So surface level meaning, that no parking sign means really simply, do not park here. That's the easy surface level meaning. But there might be underlying meanings or other meanings or reasons. Maybe there's construction happening and it's not safe to park here. Maybe somebody has rented this lot, so we can't park here. Maybe the lot has many potholes and people tend to drive over them quickly and they mess up their tires or alignment or whatever. But the point is that we can always find a surface level meaning, like do not park here, and we can also find underlying meanings. So meanings that go beyond the surface level. All right, so let's look at the basics of semiotics and the culture of American consumption. And if you look under week 1, you'll find a file of notes that have the same text as this PowerPoint. So you can print that out, and as you're watching, you can fill in the blanks. And I like to do that just because that helps people remember better what they've been watching. All right, so our book tells us that a sign is anything that carries meaning. And we saw the no parking sign, but we can think about other signs in a moment. Semiotics is simply the study of signs. And that's what this whole book, our textbook, is about. And that's what this whole course is about. Well, it's about writing, but we're writing about semiotics. So the study of signs is just the interpretation of linguistic, cultural, and behavioral systems. So when we talk about reading the signs, that simply means we're interpreting something or analyzing it to find deeper meaning and significance. And that word significance is very significant. We're going to hear it a lot. Whether that something, that sign that we're looking at is an actual sign, like a traffic sign or stop sign, maybe the sign that we're looking at is a current trend. For example, for a while, the man bun was pretty popular. A lot of men had longer hair and they put it in a bun and it was called a man bun. Maybe we're talking about the popularity of something. For example, the TV series Stranger Things. Every time a new season comes out, people get all excited and talk about it. That might be a sign that we can interpret and analyze. So, our introduction in our textbook talks about some important people and ideas. One of them is Ferdinand de Saussure, and he talked about how the meaning of a sign lies in the fact that it can be differentiated from other signs within the same system or code. For example, we know that there's a system or code of academic letter grades, and we know what each one means. We know A means excellent, we know C means average, we know F means failure, that's bad. And we can compare them to each other and differentiate them. So we better understand what an A means when we compare it to a C or to an F. Another important person is Charles Sanders Peirce. And he told us that semiotics is dynamic, which simply means we situate signs in history so we can trace meaningful shifts. For example, we know that within the system or code of men's hairstyles, the mohawk was popular in the 1980s when I was growing up, and we all thought Mr. T was really cool because he had his mohawk. In more recent years, people started wearing a faux hawk. So it was kind of like a mohawk hairstyle, but it was a little bit shorter. It wasn't as tall. And then in even more recent years, we don't really see a mohawk or faux hawk anymore, or at least I don't. So we might look into, well, why are these styles no longer popular? And as we're analyzing that, we're situating the signs in history to trace those shifts. Here, the 80s, we had mohawk. Here in the 90s, we had the faux hawk. Now we have other stuff. Our next important person is Roland Barthes. He told us that phenomena may look like mere entertainment, but it can hold profound political or ideological significance. Again, there's that word significance. So, our example, after the 2016 presidential election, many people began wearing a safety pin on their shirts. A lot of people weren't really familiar with this, but I read it on a few places in social media. Some people were doing it. While it might have looked like a quirky fashion statement, just have a safety pin on you, wearers intended it to be a signal that they were allies of marginalized groups, such as Muslims, Hispanics, the LGBTQ community, and so on. So if you were a member of one of those communities and you saw somebody wearing a safety pin, you knew that you were safe with that person. Then we have Stuart Hall, and Stuart Hall told us that a sign may have oppositional meanings in addition to preferred meanings. Example, the TV series The Big Bang Theory. It had a character named Amy, and she was a neurobiologist, and she looked a certain way. She wore nerdy glasses, she wore frumpy, not stylish clothes. A preferred meaning might be that she simply doesn't follow fashion trends, or she doesn't have time to follow fashion trends. An oppositional meaning, So the not so popular meaning might be that her appearance suggests that smart women are ugly. We are also talking about some important terms. And the first one is denotation. We can talk about these terms in language and in semiotics. So in language, denotation is simply the direct meaning of a word. For example, the word home, it just means where someone lives. If we look at denotation in semiotics, it's the surface level interpretation of a sign. So skinny jeans, for example, surface level interpretation, they're form-fitting jeans worn by both males and females. The term that goes along with denotation is connotation. In language, that just means the indirect or implied meanings of a word or the feelings associated with a word. So home, we said, direct meaning is it's where someone lives. The associated meanings might be comfort, family, love, calm, relaxation, all those good things. In semiotics, connotation is simply the significance or deeper meaning of a sign. For example, we said skinny jeans are form-fitting jeans worn by both males and females. If we look a little deeper, we might say the popularity of skinny jeans indicates a trend toward androgyny. Clothing styles are increasingly neither specifically feminine nor masculine. Another important term is abduction, and here we're not talking about kidnapping. Here, the process of arriving at an interpretation by seeking the most plausible or possible explanation for something, that is abduction. So, for example, smartphones. We all have them. A smartphone is a mobile telephone that provides access to the internet and various applications. So the most plausible or possible or abductive explanation for people carrying one is that they might need to make a phone call or a text, or they might need to use the internet. Another important term, overdetermination. And that just means the multiplicity of possible causes for any social phenomenon. So thinking again about our smartphones, people carry smartphones. Why? Maybe they carry them as status symbols. Maybe smartphones provide escape from immediate situations. Maybe people feel that they constantly need to be connected to others. Or maybe people are increasingly self-centered and are addicted to devices that carry the important aspects of their lives, like their contacts, favorite games, social media, etc. So anytime that we can make a list of possible causes or reasons that something is significant, we would say that that sign is overdetermined. There are lots and lots of causes we can come up with. Talking about American consumption, American popular culture is grounded in consumption. And here consumption is not like consuming, eating something, but we mean the purchase and use of goods and services by the public. We live in a consumer society, so our consumption is a source of economic activity, keeps the economy going. Also, it's a source of personal pleasure because we buy and use things that we enjoy. Our consumption is also a form of communication. Our consumer choices convey to others what kind of people we are and what our values might be. So, for example, if I wear a Los Angeles Dodgers baseball cap, I'm communicating several possible messages about myself. I might be telling you, hey, I'm a Dodgers fan. I might be saying, oh, I like baseball and baseball in general. I might be saying, I have Southern California pride. I might be saying, I'm eager to discuss the Dodgers with others. I might simply be sending the message that I like the color blue, or it's cold outside, my head is cold, I'm going to put this cap on. So all of those possibilities are communicating different messages to people. We as Americans have a mythology, and here mythology just means a framework of values and beliefs. We have a mythology of personal freedom. We love our freedom. We get irate anytime our freedom is threatened. Well, this relates to our consumption in that we can consume what we want basically whenever we want it. If I want to buy a new smartphone, I can go on the internet and with a few clicks, I've bought it and it'll be delivered to me the next day, or in some cases later the same day. So we should pay attention to what we consume and why we consume it. And all right, and that was fun. Goodbye, see you later. All right, goodbye, William Shakespeare.